This video has something to do with me personally, so it's from my home state. Let's check it out. It's called Why Missouri is Spending $3 billion on One Road by Buildcore. Link to the original video in the description. I'll tell you right now, Missouri road work is an absolute joke. For every one day that you see any road crews working, you'll see 2 months where they're not. We had a section of the highway shut down for 4 years, and nobody touched it for the entire time. Finally, they got onto it, and they fixed it in like 2 months. There's something fishy going on in Missouri with the road work. I assume that there's a bunch of kickbacks happening and shit, because there's no way that this is just normal.
In 1956, the interstate highway system officially began.
The interstate highway system, a 41,000-mile network of our most important roads.
And the first project to break ground was here, on a stretch of road west of St. Louis that would become Interstate 70. Nearly 70 years later, Missouri is tearing back into that same highway. Across nearly 200 miles, crews are widening I-70, rebuilding bridges, redesigning interchanges, and reconstructing one of the most important freight corridors in the country. And
constantly doing it, but never actually working. How many workers you see here, 2? Okay, there's a few of them. Guess how many of these guys are actually working? 0. None of them are doing anything. Most
have to do all of this while the highway remains open. But why does one highway need more than $3 billion in work? And why rebuild so much of it at once? This is the story of Missouri's massive I-70 rebuild, and the extreme engineering effort required to give one of America's first interstates a second life. On major portions of the new I-70, you will not be driving on asphalt. Your tires will be riding directly on an 11-inch thick concrete slab. Previously, this section had asphalt laid over the original, thinner concrete highway. Crews now grind away that asphalt, then break the old concrete into small, tight, interlocked pieces through a process called rubblization. Instead of hauling the old road away, they turn it into part of the new foundation. Crews add crushed rock above it, creating a stable base that spreads loads and allows water to drain away. Then a slip-form paving machine, like this one, places the new 11-inch concrete surface. But why use concrete, especially when 94% of paved roads in the US are asphalt surfaced? Well, I-70 is no ordinary road. It's a major freight corridor, with more than 1 out of every 4 vehicles being a truck. Those heavy axle loads
True, and I gotta tell you, it is so annoying.
Far greater stress on pavement than passenger vehicles, and that's repeated tens of thousands of times each day. Asphalt is flexible. It bends slightly under traffic, which makes it relatively fast and affordable to install and repair. But under repeated heavy loads, and during Missouri's hot summers and freezing winters, it can deform and require more frequent resurfacing.
That is true, because Missouri weather is the most bipolar weather I've ever experienced in my life. One day it'll be snowing, the next day it'll be 100 degrees, the day after that it's raining. It's crazy. Sometimes multiple things in one day.
It behaves differently. It's rigid, so instead of flexing directly beneath each tire, the slab spreads that force across a much larger area of the foundation. The pavement is divided into individual concrete panels with steel dowel bars crossing the joints. When a truck reaches the edge of one panel, those bars transfer part of its weight into the next panel, keeping the slab edges aligned and reducing stress. Concrete costs more upfront and takes longer to build, which is why every road is not constructed this way. A neighborhood street doesn't need nearly a foot of concrete. But on a heavily traveled interstate expected to carry freight for decades, Missouri is choosing the stronger, longer life pavement system. Okay, I may have gotten slightly carried away with the concrete, but that same level of engineering is unfolding across nearly 200 miles of the interstate. This is all part of the Improve I-70 program, more than $3.3 billion of work, divided into 8 major construction sections stretching between the outskirts of St. Louis and Kansas City. When it's complete, this entire corridor will have been widened from 4 lanes to 6. But as I mentioned in the intro, there's a whole lot more than just widening as part of this work. So from here, we're going to travel the project from east to west, and we begin near Wentzville, where the program almost immediately runs into one of its most complicated problems. Here, east-west traffic on I-70 meets I-64 approaching from the southwest, US
Yeah.
61 continuing north, and local drivers entering and exiting around Wentzville. From
Everybody
this
knows
satellite view, it looks like a tangle of ramps and bridges. But down on the ground, it's a competition between several traffic streams trying to merge, separate, or cross paths.
Dude.
That creates weaving.
This Missouri highway system is also one of the worst I've ever driven on in my life, and I've been all the way west and all the way east in America. The only other state that has worse highways than us, the only state that's worse is Illinois. Illinois by far has the worst highway system. It's just like ribbons crossing over each other. But they do this shit in Missouri all the time where they just add in a bunch of ridiculous road things when they don't make any sense.
Every lane change disrupts the traffic behind it, and when that traffic includes fully loaded semis, the effects can spread quickly through the interchange. This is the eastern end of the $600 million Warrenton to Wentzville project, a 20-mile reconstruction scheduled to finish in late 2028. Crews are adding that third lane in each direction, replacing the existing interstate with full-depth concrete and widening part of I-64. But the most unusual constraint appears just west of the junction. Here, I-70 passes beneath an active Norfolk Southern Railroad bridge. The opening was built for an older, narrower interstate, with 2 lanes in each direction and tight shoulders. There's not enough room beneath it to simply add another lane and modern shoulders. Engineers considered raising I-70 over the railroad, but that would have required
be so
potentially
stupid.
lifting the highway significantly and creating a longer, steeper grade. Heavy trucks would lose speed climbing it, potentially creating a new bottleneck beside the interchange. Instead, the selected design shifts I-70 slightly southwest while replacing the railroad bridge above it. That gives the highway the width it needs without forcing traffic over that new grade. West of Warrenton is the program's longest section, 44 continuous miles and roughly $580 million in future work.
It's crazy, dude. There's no way it costs that much. I'm sorry, but there's no way it even costs half that much. Somebody, probably a lot of people, are getting a lot of extra money that they don't deserve. However, I will say this: the unions in at least in Missouri, probably throughout America, are mostly scams. I worked as a personal contractor for some time, which is like a guy who goes around and, if you need your light fixed, I'll fix your lighting fixture. Or if you need concrete laid down in a small patch, I'll lay down your concrete. Basically, plumbing, all this stuff, just that general handyman, basically, for hire. And every guy I ever worked for told me they refused to do anything with, they refused to ever hire union guys. Because you hire a union guy, and they're mandated all these crazy amount of breaks. You're not allowed to tell them what to do, basically. Dude, it is such a scam. And then you have to pay them this huge fee that they're usually not even worth. And then they can just decide not to show up. You still have to pay them. The unions in Missouri are huge scams, at least when it comes to construction. Now, if you are a construction worker, it's probably amazing. It's probably great. Take a 20-minute break every hour, barely work, almost never show up to the job, fully protected. I mean, if you are a construction guy, like a concrete guy specifically, it's really good. But for everybody else, it's really bad.
Work. The contract is expected to be awarded in November of 2026, with construction running from 2027 through late 2030. Because the final design hasn't yet been selected, many details, including bridge replacements, remain undecided. Next is the 20-mile section from Kingdom City to Columbia, where construction is already underway on a $426 million rebuild scheduled for completion in late 2027.
That's crazy.
Here, crews are rebuilding the corridor as 6 new
It's actually crazy how long it takes them, because this didn't just start, by the way. This has been going on for years. It's been going on for actual years. And yet, they do this all the time. Let's see this. Key and Peele. I've never searched up Key and Peele. Oh, I did search up their documentary thing, so I could talk shit on that guy who's a liar, Patrick CC. Yeah, that's a pretty good list.
lanes, widening both shoulders, and reconstructing the major interchanges at US 54 in Kingdom City and US 63 in Columbia. The real challenge is staging. 2 lanes must remain open in each direction during peak periods, so crews build new pavement beside traffic, shift vehicles onto it.
I have a feeling that this guy is not from Missouri at all, because, dude, when you drive this, I drove down this highway to get to work. every single day for 2 years. And for 2 years, and I'm not kidding you, I have corroborating evidence, for 2 years straight, me and my buddy never once saw a work crew on here. Now, for this 2 years, granted, when I went in the morning, I went in at 4, but that also means when I went home, I was going home around 1 to 3, depending on the day. So they should have been out here working, and they never, ever were, not once.
And then demolish and replace the roadway they just vacated. Next is Columbia to Rocheport, where the program becomes far more structurally complex.
They sure shut down the part of the road first. They shut down 2 of the lanes, so traffic was just horrible the whole time. But they just refused to do the work ever. And they never get in trouble for it.
This $441 million section packs 14 new bridges into just 14 miles, along with rebuilt urban interchanges and new connections across Perch Creek. The standout feature is a collector-distributor road, a separate set of lanes that handles entering and exiting traffic before it reaches the interstate. By separating those movements from through traffic, it reduces the weaving that normally occurs when vehicles merge and exit within a short distance. Construction began in spring of 2026 and is scheduled to continue through late 2029. But before continuing west, the interstate has to cross the Missouri River.
There's no reason for it to take that long. Do you think that China is taking that long to build a road? You think China's taking 3 years to build it? And by the way, these aren't huge stretches of road. Like, it's not like they're rebuilding the whole thing all at once. These are like smaller segments of highway that they're just shutting down and then not touching for years. And then they come back in the last minute and they blast through it, doing a half-assed job because they don't have the time anymore, because they sat around getting paid for nothing for years.
For decades, every vehicle on I-70 was forced into a single aging bridge built in 1960. Widening the highway on either side would accomplish little if traffic still had to squeeze through that same fixed bottleneck. Missouri replaced it with 2 parallel bridges, each wide enough for 3 lanes and full shoulders. Crews first built one bridge beside the original crossing and shifted traffic onto it. They then demolished the old bridge and constructed the second new span in its place. Although the Rocheport Bridge was delivered separately from the main Improve I-70 contracts, it created the 6-lane river crossing that the entire statewide program now depends on. Immediately west of the bridge, the next 13-mile section presents another tight physical constraint. Crews must widen 2 existing bridges. One crosses an active Union Pacific rail line, while the other connects directly into the new bridge. That leaves little flexibility. The widened structures must maintain rail clearance below, traffic above, and an exact alignment into the river crossing. The $104 million project began in spring of 2026 and is scheduled for completion in late 2027.
13 miles. 13 miles, and it's costing over $100 million to make. We're wondering why our taxes are so high. It's because we're paying these companies. You know, like, I bet the guy at the top of this company, whoever they hired to do this, is getting buku bucks. And the rest of the people are, and the thing is, though, with union workers, you have to pay them tons of money to do basically nothing.
Next comes one of the program's largest remaining sections, 42 miles from Boonville to Concordia, with an estimated cost of roughly $540 million. Before the final bridge designs can be selected, engineers are drilling into the ground at structure locations to map the soil and bedrock below. Those investigations will determine whether existing foundations can be reused, strengthened, or must be replaced entirely. Construction is expected to run from fall 2027 through late 2030. Between Concordia and Odessa, crews remove the existing pavement rather than just covering it with another surface. Unlike most of the larger contracts, this section will use design, bid, build. Engineers will finish the plans first, and contractors will then compete to construct that completed design. Work is scheduled from 2027 through late 2029. And finally, the last section carries the project into the suburban edge of Kansas City. This $350 million contract includes 14 more bridge replacements, 2 major interchange improvements, and full-depth reconstruction and widening of the existing highway. Construction began in September of 2025, and by late 2028, that final section will connect the rebuilt interstate directly into the Kansas City Metro.
Sure it will.
And I didn't mention it, but the program also expands truck parking. Drivers operate under federal limits on how long they can remain behind the wheel. Trucks often have ended up near ramps or shoulders. I asked at the beginning, why do all of this at once? Why not rebuild I-70 one section at a time, like most major highway projects?
True.
A large part of the answer
actually,
is
it
that
does seem like they kind of are, but not really. But the thing is that they're going to one place, shutting it down, and then going to the next place, shutting it down, going to the next place, shutting it down, and not actually doing any of the work. So then you just have a bunch of highways that are shut down all at the same time, and no work crews.
that so much traffic uses this corridor to cross the entire state. If Missouri widened one section to 6 lanes but left the next at 4, traffic would repeatedly compress back down, creating bottlenecks that could
Which, by the way, it is like that because they refuse to do their job. It literally is like that. There's huge bottlenecks everywhere where you slow down to literally like 1 mile per hour. Like an actual crawl. You'll be stopped in traffic constantly.
remain for years. By rebuilding nearly 200 miles on the same timeline, Missouri is treating I-70 as one connected system. And when the work is finished, the state will have a wider, stronger highway prepared to carry the next generation across Missouri.
Wow.
I'm Josh.
This video was huge cope. This video was tons of cope, dude. None of that shit is happening. They do have 2 lanes, a split to 3, and then back to 2, and then back to 3, and then back to 2, because like I said, they refuse to do their job. They're never there. They show up and shut it down, and then they leave, and they don't come back for a year or 2. It's actually crazy, because they have 3 years, so they're like, well, we're going to take 3 years, who cares? And then they go and do other bids in the meantime that don't have this ridiculous government extension on it. It's crazy.